So the final stage in the suspension rebuild of the Amazon and P1800, the lower wishbone. Now you can see this one's been about a bit, but it's perfectly good. It's got good integrity, there's no significant rust anywhere. However, many of our customers do actually choose to fit a brand new lower wishbone, which we can still get off the shelf. So always consider that. But we're going to do it the hard way, and we're going to remove these bushes. Now you have choice of two methods here. Ideally, from our point of view, we'll try and push the bush out of its sleeve, in other words leaving the sleeve in situ. It's cheaper by quite a bit and a lot quicker. However, on occasion there will be a reason for why this sleeve either drags and half comes out, or is damaged or is corroded, in which case one would press the sleeve out as well as the bush inside it. But as I say, today we're going to endeavour just to push the bush out and leave the sleeve in situ. Let's go and try it. Okay, so the two important things to consider when you're pushing out the bushes in a lower wishbone. One is that it's got to be supported well. So we make up out of old bearing outers a neat little cup that supports that very substantially against the pressure of the press. So that goes in there. Then we use an appropriate size socket as our drift and an extension bar to get it down there. So we now press out the bush. One down. That's it, the two bushes out. Next stage is to fit the polyurethanes. Good. So, had we failed to push the bush out without damaging the sleeve, or if we'd chosen to remove the sleeve, this is what we'd fit in its place. Gorgeous pair of stainless steel sleeves. And the fact that they're gorgeous and stainless steel explains why they're so expensive. So we tend to avoid it if we can. So progressing to fit the bush, a nice smear of silicone grease. And just a gentle smear on the leading edge of the two bushes. Just to help them through. There we go. Right, we're ready to go. line it up in your press. We want a fairly quick edge trim here. There it goes. And nicely home. And in we go quickly. There it is, it's home. Then, good smear of silicone on the inside surface of the two bushes. And a little smear on the inner sleeve, and push that home, but not entirely home. Leave a gap here. You'll see why in a moment. And likewise, we've just left a small gap on the inside edge. Right, let's go and offer this up. First of all, let's pop on the lower ball joint. Now, you say to me, well, that's blatantly obvious how you fit a lower ball joint to the lower wishbone. However, we did have a long conversation one New Year with a customer who told me my springs made the car ride 30mm high. And eventually I worked out that he had actually mounted the lower ball joint on top of the wishbone instead of underneath it, which explained why. So now we offer this up to the cross member, of which there are a tube that protrudes. And what you're going to do is engage this little bit of emptiness over that tube, which is why we leave them slightly, the inner sleeve slightly proud. Go. It sits nicely then. Bit of silicone grease on the inside of the front washer. And then in goes the bolt. That inner sleeve at the front is currently holding the bolt slightly proud, so let's just tap it home with our copper mallet. There it goes. Smear of silicone grease on the rear washer. On goes the washer. And a nice new nylock. In goes our road spring, making sure that the top cup is all present and correct. Now if you make sure that the bottom coil end is pointing towards you, then it should be easier to make it sit home. And we can press up the springs. Okay, if you can lower gently. Stop. Continue. Make sure that your hub engages with lower wishbone, lower ball joint. Make sure the hub engages with the lower ball joint. Continue.
Just on the spring, not on the coal.
That's good. On goes the lower ball joint nut. Good. As we compress the spring, we did actually hear it drop into its seat, its bottom seat nicely, but just to make sure, we grab a bit of wood and we give it a neat sharp tap. Fore and aft, just to make sure. Right, for the sake of completeness, let's do the anti-roll bar as well. Fairly straightforward and self-explanatory, but let's do it anyway. So, we've got it off the car. Pop the two brackets off. These are actually in very nice condition on the internal edge, so we won't be replacing those. Remove the old bush. And with a favourite bit of Scotch pad, just clean up the area where the bush meets the anti-roll bar. There we go. Pair of new bushes. Find the split in them. Sometimes not that easy actually, you sometimes have to really pry them apart to find the split. Nice lick of silicone grease. And pop the bush on. There's the bush. Now just to make it slightly easier, because it can be a bit fiddly offering this up to the car, put some silicone grease down the two vertical sides of the clamp. And this will allow it to slide up a bit more elegantly. Okay, let's go and offer it up to the car. Okay, so we've already greased up the 4 bolts with copper slip. We offer up the anti-roll bar. That's it. So in over the top of the steering rod, up it goes, rotate the bush around till it's the right direction. On with the shell clamp and just get a couple of threads in. On the bolts.
Yep.
And then just tighten up the 4 bolts. And finally, in goes the anti-roll bar. We're looking at that nicely.
Yep.
And nip it up. Good. And we're done. That's the anti-roll bar back in, lower wishbones all in, brand new springs. The shock absorbers is covered under another video. We're all done. Thank you very much.